The Growing Up Brooklyn podcast is a Black Sarah Gaming production.
Welcome to the Growing Up Brooklyn podcast. I'm your host, Coach Ty, and today we have a guest that I've been waiting to get on the show for the last couple of weeks. Our schedules kind of, throw ourselves off, and then Coach been traveling, and I know you guys see me out in Vegas and all this other stuff, having a good time. But I'm back, and I'm with a guest, that I'm super excited to have. We're gonna talk about his growing up and Brownsville, never ran, never will. And we were just talking pre-production about some of the basketball circles, and it's nice because you see me with the East New York shirt, and anybody that knows Brooklyn know Brownsville is our neighbors. And the quick funny story is that when people be like, "Yo, where you from?" and they're like, "Yo, I'm from East New York." "Oh man, you from the hood." Like, "Where you from?" "I'm from Brownsville." "Man, you the hood." Like, we playfully. We're like Brownsville and East New York are like cousins, and we each call each other the hood. But in all due respect, it's a place that really shapes you, it hardens you, and it definitely makes a lot of us through Brooklyn. It makes us who we are today. So I want to welcome to the podcast, Mr. Jon McLeod, to the podcast. Thank you, John, for coming. I appreciate you having you on, man.
No, Coach, it is an honor to be a part of this show and to be on it and talking about one of my favorite topics that I rarely get to talk about because a lot of people don't know you had to live it to understand it, and that's growing up Brooklyn and representing and saying where you're from. You said it with pride because you realize a lot of people didn't go through what we went through or dealt with what we dealt with. So it's a badge of honor. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Like I tell you, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Living there nowadays, I don't know if you know. I have a coworker, and he was telling me where he lives. He said, "Oh yeah, I live in Brooklyn." I'm like, "Oh yes." He lives like in the Fort Greene area. I say, "How much you pay for rent?" He's like $5,000. I'm like, "What? $5,000?" He said, "Yeah, it's a four bedroom apartment, but there's three couples and one single person living there." I was like, "Yeah. No, no, no." But we'll dive into what Brooklyn looks like now today with these crazy rents. But I always like to open the podcast with this question: what is your earliest memory growing up in Brooklyn?
Earliest memory growing up in Brooklyn has to be hearing the ice cream truck come down the block and asking grandma for $1 so you could get a chocolate cone. Meanwhile, the fire hydrant, somebody hijacked the fire hydrant and turned on the water so that it could jump out, and we were running in shorts and jumping in and out, and somebody was hooping with a basketball hoop at the edge of their driveway in the street, and we played 2-on-2 going back and forth, and man, it was like that's what I consider summer. When the fire hydrant was open and the ice cream truck, man, you heard that sound coming, and you were outside playing from morning until night, and somebody come knock on your door and ask your grandmother if you home, if you could come outside.
Yes, man.
Those
Yes.
are man, I can't tell you. Like I spend my days searching for moments like that because the sky was blue. It was only a couple of clouds. I can't even remember how hot it was, but I just remember feeling free, feeling happy. You had your people around you. You had every day was an adventure, whether you were playing Scully or you were hooping or like we were doing all this kind of stuff. It was like I think about that and I think back to one of the most incredible times of my life before I even, and we didn't even know how hard we had it because, we were poor, but we made the best of everything that we had and the times that we had, and everything was an adventure during the summer. And the best part too, when I really think back, Coach, is like, I look now and I look back and I think about how there's times where like I grew up in three neighborhoods. I mentioned Brownsville, but Brownsville was like, I would consider it number 3. I really grew up in East New York and Flatbush between
Okay.
those two. So my family lived on right off of Fulton Street, right across from, I don't know if like I used to hoop a lot across from Fish Playground. It's right Kelly Park. You remember Kelly Park? if you're in East New York, right above Broadway Junction.
Oh, yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's a
So yeah,
see. I don't know it as Kelly Park, but I know it as Broadway Junk. Yeah, the
yeah.
park about yeah.
So that park, I live about 4 blocks down on Fulton Street. My grandmother's house.
Gotcha.
So we had the corner store, we had Fish Playground was 271 is the where we used to play at, where I started to really get nice at ball. But we used to go to Kelly to test how tough we were,
That's
or
right.
go to this part of Brownsville. I played in BRC, so like it was like you were saying earlier, we were talking about it before the show started. The adjacent hoods that made us love the game of basketball, but sharper.
Yeah.
How you say, residents of Brooklyn, because you had your basketball in your arm, and you had a mean mug because that's what you had to have, because you
That's
wouldn't have
right.
had nobody run up on you. And so like it was a time. I look back now, like there's a part of me that wish we could just go back and I just want to look at it, like look at how it was and see how, if it was as amazing as I remember it.
Yeah, and it definitely, I tell people, growing up in Brooklyn is just like it's like no other. Like you said, just the neighborhoods, the courts. You can drive down Linden Boulevard and drive past 10 parks, and it's full of kids. And these kids today just miss out on so much. Like I told you, I coach girls basketball down there, and these are so, coach, we going outside today. We going outside. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so hot. I'm like, we used to play in 90-degree weather. We get a $2 hero and a tropical fantasy soda, and that held us down. Like you said,
Yeah.
you know what, and you just brought some good flashbacks to me, because I grew up in boulevard houses, and all you would hear is somebody was going to, you hear the basketball echoing through the project, and that told us, yo, somebody going to the courts. We need to get over to the basketball court. And by what's today? It's summer, right? So we out of school right now. It's Monday, but on a Sunday by 11 o'clock in the morning, that park was full.
Yep. Every
That
single
park
time.
was full. So when you was talking about that, and of course the ice cream truck, the Mr. Softy, or the little box truck that used to come down the street, that's and then you said the fire hydrant. Now in the projects, we couldn't have the hydrants on, but they had the sprinklers and stuff. So
Yeah.
same thing, just go out there in some basketball shorts, or we run 24 courts. It felt like, come back, jump through the sprinkler 24.
Yeah.
Didn't worry about inside basketball shoes, outside basketball shoes. So
We didn't think
it's
we hold on, let me turn the light on real quick. That's probably better. So we didn't really think about like any of the things that I hear now, or you probably hear now. Like, oh, we didn't talk about germs. We didn't think about like, oh, is this right? Or man, somebody had a wrench that was somebody's father was a mechanic, and he had a big enough wrench to open up the fire hydrant, and we begged him to do it. Or some neighborhoods, like years later, I found out that people could call the fire department. We never called the fire department to open it up. We opened it ourselves, and when the water started, we had a blast. We used to put the bottle caps and race
Yep.
them down the stream to see who got to the end. It was so good, man. Like I tell you, man. Like I tell people all the time, and I say it with pride when they ask me where I'm from. They're like, where you from? I say, I'm from Brooklyn, and they're like, shoot. And they're like, oh, what parts? And I always so one of the things that I do, I always preface it this way: I'm a public speaker for so I have a day job as a producer, a multimedia producer, and I through that I became a public speaker for mental health, and I help companies expand not just their thinking but their processes on authentic actions around mental health for employees in the workplace. And when I tell them my story and how I got there, it's very much find it like no one argues.
Right.
And I'm never in a suit or anything like that. So I'm never pretending to be someone that I'm not. I'm always me. I live by a Charles Barkley quote. Somebody's got to be me. It might as well be me.
Right.
So I live by that quote. So when they see me and then they hear the story of how, probably similar to you, we didn't talk about mental health. We didn't talk about any of that stuff. Like, hooping and exercise and going outside and being around people was our therapy. It was our community was our therapy. And granted, looking back at it now as an expert in the field, I see how much PTSD we went through. I see how much trauma we went through as kids. I watch people get shot. I watch people get stabbed. I was shot at. I still got scars from being slashed at. Like, I was running around trying to be in gangs and do all that kind of stuff because we glorified that because that was the hood. That was Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That was that you had people that rocked with you no matter what, and you took pride in that. But we didn't often sit down and analyze or think like, is this normal? Because the truth of it, it's not, and
it's not. Right.
But it was normal to us. It was summertime, it was wintertime, it was fall, spring to us. Every single day, we had our heads on a swivel, and we were making sure like we stay off this block because we know how they get down. We're not gonna go into this corner store because we know who sits outside of it, and we know when it's time when they act up and how they behave. And so I go into these companies and I've spoken to over 50 countries about mental health, and then I started diving into men's mental health because the ladies will talk to me all day long, but the guys are they very few of them talk, and when they talk, the reason why they talk is because I tell them the story of what I've been through, how I've been jumped right on Rockaway Avenue train station by 9 people for $2.50 in a school Metro card. Like, true story, I can take you right back to the place. I can tell you how my whole family came out ready to roll because we weren't gonna do that. We don't play that. So it's when somebody that goes through all of that can sit up and say, hey, look, yes, I have conversations about mental health. Yes, I teach guys how to communicate and how to, hey, let's not use anger. Let's use conversation to get you through what you're feeling. No, it's not weak. I've had conversations with murderers, like ex-cons, burglars, you name it. And I've had a conversation because I do calisthenics as well, in the park, on the bar, and I asked a question, coach, every single time I ask this one question. So all those tough guys that have been locked up at Rikers, that have been locked up north and all that, I asked them the same question when they want to avoid having this conversation around mental health. I said, okay, let me ask you something. If you're so tough and you caught this charge for taking out this person and you got and all that type of stuff, if you're so tough and you can do that, why are you terrified of a conversation?
That's a good point.
Tell me, show me. You can't. I said you can't say you're tough and you're fearless if you can't have this conversation. And
absolutely
every single
right.
time, coach, they're speechless. They don't know what to say, or they ended up all right, and they ease themselves into it. Most of the time, men are afraid to have the conversation is because they were never taught to have the conversation. They were taught to be afraid of the conversation.
Well, like you said, they were taught to be tough, and even within the Black community, we're taught that weakness, being mentally weak is a sign of weakness and you're not strong or it's not manly.
Yeah.
That's the term that everybody, be a man. But like you said, it's okay to show emotion. It's okay to cry and, and I want to talk about your childhood a little bit, because like you said, our therapy was going outside. Our therapy was talking to our friends, talking about our day, getting out with, again, these kids hide behind a video game and they're in house and they just glued to a tablet and they don't know how to have these conversations. Or like you said, they grow up in a household where, dad has to show, the sons, like, I have sons and I don't show them tough. I'm always, hey, I love you. I always tell them I love them.
Yep.
Because that's something I didn't hear a lot from my dad. I know he did. I would never doubt that my dad didn't love me, but he never said it. And that's, a thing that's missing in the Black households, even then. Like I said, now my sons are in their 20s now, but I always say, every time I end the conversation, hey, love you, son. Love you, son. If I post something on social media, hey, love my son. Want them to know, like, it's okay. Like, it's like you said, it's okay. But you can be a killer and you can have 30 murders, but you don't want to have a conversation about mental health or what got you so hardened, because that is the mental health issue.
Yeah, and coach, you hit it right on the head. It's this stigma that we learn growing up. Hey, stop being a punk. Get up. Why you crying? Stop whining. Stop crying. What you crying for?
Right.
This person had this happen and they didn't even cry. Why are you
Right.
crying? And then
Right.
there's this mentality of, if I show weakness, I'm weak. If I show vulnerability, I'm showing weakness. I'm weak. And when I tell you, growing up, I had mentioned, I was jumped, I was shot at, I was like all that type of stuff. And that was some of that was before high school.
Yeah, I got jumped in. I got sucker punched in junior high school. Somebody ran up behind me and sucker punched me, and I looked at the guy and I'm like, "You know me?" He's like, I'm like, "You know me?" So I went back to my neighborhood. Shout out to my boy Khalid. We went and knocked on the dude's door. As soon as he opened his door, he's like, and so Khaled's like, "Yo, why you tried in front of my little man?" He's like, "No, I didn't know." I was like, "I told you, you know, you knew me, but like you said, it's like." I don't think I don't know if there's anybody that's from Brooklyn to say that they weren't jumped in the fight. Like, and that's hard. Like and like you said, to us, that seems normal, but that's not normal. Like, that's crazy.
It's not, and see, and that's the part, coach. And that's the part that separates us. Because I moved to Connecticut about over 10 years ago, and realized that they haven't been through 10% of what I've been through. And then when the way they look at fear, I'm looking at them like, bro, that's not even that bad. Why y'all wilding out like it's the worst thing in the world? I'm like, that's what you're afraid of? I'll tell you this story. When I first moved in, one of my first apartments was actually in the town that I live in now, and I own a house in now. It's called New Britain. They call it hard-hitting New Britain. And
I've never heard that.
Yeah. You see the face that you just made? That's the face I made. Like, that's you gave yourself a nickname. They were like, well, they were like, yeah, because it's sketchy and those are the terms. It's dangerous. They said, why? Where are you from? I said, I'm from Brooklyn. I said, if you say that anywhere else, they're gonna be like, oh, guess what? That's not the nickname. That's the name of the borough.
That's right.
That's it.
Right.
So there is no time for no nicknames or anything like that. So when they tell me don't whatever you do, don't get any apartment in this town. They named this town and they named another town. And I was like, okay, I'm the type of person, I'm gonna go see it for myself because there's not many places like Brooklyn. And I'm like, the only thing worse than this is probably a war zone. So like, I had a healthy level of understanding, I call it. I'm like, I know what sketchy really looked like. And then I said, all right, let me see. I went in there. I was like, this looked like Brooklyn. Like, I like this. This
feel like home. That's right.
It felt like home. I saw dudes walking with socks and slippers like hoopers. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. And I showed up with my hoodie and my shorts or whatever. And they were like, everybody was like, why would you do it? They were panicking. And I was like, you need to understand, the way you grew up and the way I grew up are two different lives. This is not scary. Now, another part of Connecticut, Hartford, yeah, there's a certain parts where it's.
Yeah, that's why I was asking what part when you. I've heard about Hartford, and there's another part that's a little bit up north that I heard was pretty tough. If you said it, I would know it. I can't remember. It wasn't Hartford. It was somewhere else.
Is it Bristol?
No, not Bristol. We'll talk later.
Yeah, but yeah, Hartford. Yeah, now Hartford was like, yeah, this is the part of Brooklyn that we don't rock with, and like on some, and that's where all the good food is, and that's where like, and I'll never forget, like
that's like Fort Greene.
Exactly.
My bad, Fort Greene, but that's how we outsiders throw the Fort Greene.
Yeah.
Good food, but you don't want to get caught in there at night.
And it's different now because it's gentrified now. So it's like it's a lot more upscale. It's a lot nicer. Brownsville ain't like that. Brownsville still ain't like that. I don't think Brownsville's not gonna get like that anytime soon.
No, they're trying. So my son actually is moving to Brownsville down near New Lots and Christopher Street. They built you got to go down there and look by the L train. Maybe about two, yeah. So when he told me where he was moving, he said, "Yeah, it's gonna be off the L train on New Lots." I'm like, "Oh hell no!" Like you get mugged, you get robbed. They then the token booth clerk would be like,
I don't know what to tell you.
but no, but they're gentrifying all down there, all down not too far from the
Wow.
BRC and
Really?
the Coney Island Joe. They built a whole big apartment complex down there, right off of Linden Boulevard, right off of New Lots and Christopher Street, and they're gentrifying that whole thing, man. They that was the roughest train stop to get off at, and
Yeah.
they're cleaning it up. Yeah, they're cleaning it up.
Wow, that's impressive. So maybe they are touching it, because I swore nothing in my head. I said, "There's no way anything on the L is ever gonna get touched."
Nah, yeah. I've never taken the L past Broadway Junction. Like I just knew, like, yeah, I'm good. Like I'm not taking it. Like even when I was seeing on the Rockaway Avenue side on the other end in Canarsie, I was still, nah, I'm good. No.
Yeah, I had a homie that was hooping on the same ball team, and we would take the train home.
Mhm.
And when we first we took the bus, and we took it to the train, and I would get off at Broadway Junction to walk down Fulton, and he would
Mhm.
stay on the train, and I knew he lived a different life. You could just look at some dudes and just know, like, yeah, he definitely like he come from hard times, and he was cool,
Mhm.
like, but he knew how to handle himself.
Yeah.
And that's what you get taught as a kid. Like there is no like, oh, you shielded from certain things like a lot of kids get right now. Nah, when you in it, I know some of my young guns, they still live in that life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there trying to tell them, like, bro,
Not worth it.
there's a whole life out there. And they would tell me, like I never forget, like one of the guys that one of the people I used to rock with, just, and I knew it had to be God, because he just said, like, I was really trying to run with him, and I was in love with, just gang life and having my guys. I loved it, because it's like a basketball team that you rock with all day long.
Right.
And some of them were hoopers, and some of them, but you go everywhere, you eat together. Like you went chill at somebody's house.
You're like family. You're like family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had brothers, and I just never forget. Like they would say certain things. This is why I knew God had His hand on me, because things would go down, and they would be like, "Yo, you gotta go home." And I'd be like, "Nah, I'm rocking with you. We're not going nowhere." And then I could fight, so I used to love boxing. It was like besides basketball, was one of my first loves. They already knew. They were like, "Oh, I know you out for bloodlust, but yeah, you gotta go home." And I was like, "No, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving you." But it was God pushing them until one day it was just like, "We love you, and you gonna make it out, but we not. It's not for us, but that's for you." And I was, man. When I tell you, Coach, I can remember being so angry,
Yeah.
so angry, because I felt like I was being disowned and pushed away by the people I loved. Like I would have fought. It'd have been 5 on 20, and we were back to back, and we would be ready to go. That's
Yeah.
I'm a loyalty guy. So
Yeah.
to feel that, but I knew it that's God was pushing me away for better things. And one of my guys, his name is Terrence, he would just be like, "Yo, you were always meant to get out. We
Yeah.
all know it. We all
Sometimes they
knew
can
it."
see it. Yeah.
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 And I was just
Sometimes
like,
people
"Nah,
can
I'm
see it.
here." And they were like, "For now." And we were like, I'm like, "What you mean for now?" But I believe it was God, just them doing what God made them do, because I would have been there. I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have
Man,
been.
yeah.
Yeah.
And me, I ran with older guys like that was like 6 years older than me. Like I was 12 going to high school hooky parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I talked to I call him Joey, my older brother, and he was like you said, we just knew like we had to keep you shielded. Like we knew no matter what, you was going to be the one that was going to do something, with yourself. And, shout out to your peoples that just saw that in you, man. Cause you see those monsters out there, and I say monsters because they suck you in, and like a vampire, they just suck blood out of you. But you know, you, you had some good, big homies or whatever you call them that just said, you know what, you can hang with us when we here, but when we get to this stuff, nah, like you got to slide to the side, man.
Yeah.
And you don't, like you said, you don't see it, but now reflecting is like, damn, like, yo, they really like, like you said, you could have been 25 years of life and then a whole nother different situation, but
Yep.
you here.
Yeah, and I pray for their families, man, because being honest, I'm a straight shooter. That's who I am, coach. So
That's
like
Brooklyn, man. That's us.
so, exactly. So like some of them are no longer with us. So I'm like, God bless their family because the life just took them.
Yeah.
Some of them, I don't know where they are. Most of them, like all of them, there's not a single one of them that I see anymore. Like they're either gone somewhere else, either locked up or dead. Two of them just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I'm like, I'm asking around, but this is before cell phones. This is before Facebook. So we were connected and we would just go outside and we would gravitate. We would just find each other. You remember
Right.
knowing where your peoples were?
Of course.
We didn't have
You
cell
just knew
phones.
where to show. That's right. You just knew where to show up, and you knew they was gonna be there.
Yeah, exactly. Or one or two of y'all were gonna bump into each other, and then you were gonna link up and go find everybody else. And you walk down a block, and this is like, and this is why I love the Black community so much. Because if I was walking with two or three of my guys, my boys, we get to the corner and we see somebody we know. Tisha, where Ray at? Oh, he over there. He at Kelly. Is so and so with him? He was like, yeah, I saw him and Day Day and this person down there. All right, let me get 50 cents. No, my grandmother gave me this. She walk away.
Yo, let me get a quarter. You see my time. I don't know if I'm older than you, but yo, let me get a quarter. Yo, it was always yo, let me get a quarter. Let me get
I
a
used to
quarter.
say that, but we used to say 50 cents because we get a bag of chips and a quart of water.
That's right.
So I was
That's
like, yeah,
right.
let me get 50 cents. She'd be like, no, my grandmother gave me this. Get out of here. She walk away. I'm like, all right, at least you tried.
But like you said, she was like the news. Like she just knew, and not being nosy, but she was just the one that knew where you can find whoever you was. Everybody had that person in the neighborhood that you can go to. Yo, did you see so and so? They out there on the bench chilling. Oh yeah, they over there. They over here.
Yeah,
But
I saw them
again,
walk that way.
right.
I'm like, all right, cool. Like, and here's the thing too. Like, we had like when you never really left the block to do anything. When you walked outside every day, like I'm old enough to still remember when my neighbors were like extensions of my parents. And so, Miss Cheryl at the block was always looking out her window. So if you wanted to do something, you had to crawl under her window, and so
Oh my
she
God.
couldn't look and see
That's right.
and call your mother. Oh man, I
I talked
remember.
to
Yeah,
somebody about that. And it's funny that you said that because I actually talked to somebody about that on one of my previous episodes. How the Reed family, Miss Reed, be looking out the window and you had to crawl. Like when I just sneak to the hooky parties, I had to like hug the wall of the building, hop the fence, and then go and then worry about my grandmother looking. And I had to run across. It was crazy. It was like them. It's like Mission Impossible, just trying to get from one spot to another.
I remember. I got a beating for crossing the street by myself for the first time because Miss Jerry at the end of the block said something to my father. It was like, he ran across that street and he had nobody watching him. And he was like, just little things like that, like crossing the street, man. Like, but it was, again, we were a community, and that's why I say it's one of the best times of my life because I sit up there and just like, man, like it was a good time. And look, it wasn't just all Black people too.
No,
It was
it was
Black,
mixed.
white,
Yeah,
Spanish.
like
Like,
the Spanish. Yep.
granted, we gave names, like the names that we gave back then ain't gonna fly right now. Like, we ain't calling
Nah.
nobody White Mike.
Yo, we had a white Mike in our neighborhood too. That was that white Mike. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we called him. Yeah.
And I don't know about your White Mike, but my White Mike, he was real good at football, and he could, like, he was okay at basketball, but he was just athletic. And
Nah, mine's a little bit more late. He was a little bit more late, but he's a little older than me. He ended up being cool, but he loved the Black girls. Like he was without the
he had
rapping, he was
cornrows.
like our neighborhood Eminem.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
just cool. Actually, most people you would thought he was Spanish, but he wasn't. Like for a long time, I think people thought he was Hispanic, but he wasn't.
yeah. That and they like, again, we knew racism from people that were respectfully in a different financial bracket.
Right. Right.
The people that didn't look like us, that lived with us, it wasn't no racism. We weren't doing that because we were all in the bucket
Same
together.
struggle. That's
We were
right.
all in the same bucket. We went to the same, like, I don't know where you went to high school, but like I was supposed to go to the high, boys and
To
girls.
boys and
I was
girls.
supposed to go to the high because I was a hooper. Like, and so, but like my parents made sure like my grades were good, and I had got into it's called Edward R. Murrow High School.
Yeah, my man went there. My man
Yeah,
Jason went there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I went. So because my grades, I was the only kid in my graduating class to get in,
Wow.
and I never forget because I went to school and on the edge of Brooklyn and Queens, in Ridgewood, by Cypress Hills. I went to school in Cypress Hills.
By Highland Park. Up
Yeah,
by
yeah,
Highland
yep,
Park. Yeah,
yep,
yeah, yeah,
yep.
yeah.
So I went to school over there, like, but I was, man, I wanted to go to the high so bad because every time I
Yeah,
come home,
because Coach Lovelace was one of
yeah,
the first female coaches. I interviewed somebody that went to the high, and we was talking about her, and she was one of the first women coaches in New York City that was doing boys that and was having some success.
yeah. Nah, I heard about Lovelace. I heard about, man, and I lived, like, when I tell you, I could take you back to the house we used to, 2001 Fulton Street is where we used to live. Right across the street from 271, right down the block from the high. I could have walked. Because the high is right off of Chauncey. Because I used to work on Jackie Robinson Park.
Okay, okay,
That's right around the corner from the high. And I
yeah,
used to
yeah.
pass it like all the time, and I used to do it like all the time, like just. And so when every time I came home from school, I finished my homework. I go across the street to the park and play with all my boys that went to the high.
Yeah.
Or went to Brooklyn Tech for whatever. Or
That's why I went.
you went
That's
to
why I
Brooklyn
went.
Tech?
I went to Brooklyn Tech.
Nice, nice. I was so mad I went to Murrow because they didn't have sports, and I was
Oh yeah, yes, right. Murrow didn't have basketball.
I think
I
God
tell
did
you,
that to me on purpose.
so a lot of my older friends went to Grady, and they all used to get off the train at Murrow because of the girls.
Yep.
Murrow had all the girls. You had
Yep.
Midwood Field right there,
Yep.
football field, but Murrow had all the girls though. I can't lie about that. Even my boy Jason went there. We used to, when I started driving and we pull up and it's like, school would let out. You be seeing like 30 girls for every like one guy.
Yep. Yeah,
But they had no sports. Yeah, they had no sports.
it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. But like they started, and just so you know, like they got sports now. Like they got
Of
a
course they
collegiate
do.
program. Yeah, I was so mad because I knew if they had sports, I'd have been in a whole different world. I'd have went to college somewhere else. I'd have went like, so it was, I was trying to go to the high so bad because all my peoples were there, and my mother knew. She goes,
Nah,
no,
yeah.
no, 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 no. If you go there, I know you're going to do basketball and nonsense. And she was like, you turn into a ringleader and you start doing this nonsense and acting like you don't know God. And I was like, yeah, I am acting like that.
Now sometimes our parents have that foresight that we don't have, and like you said, I know Murrow was a communication school, and and that probably got you on your path to where you are now. Because again, you don't even think about it. Then like I tell people, for me, going to Brooklyn Tech was the best thing, even though I went for architecture, but for me, the biggest takeaway from going to Brooklyn Tech was dealing with the different nationalities because we had Chinese, we had Indian, Asian, so you had all these different, like the illest tattoo I've ever seen in my life. I was my freshman year at Brooklyn Tech, and we in the locker room changing, and this Asian kid took off his shirt, and he had this big ass dragon tattoo on him. I was like, and somebody was like, "Yo, that's Triad." I was like, clearly, like I've never seen a tattoo like only on TV, and I was just like, but again, we had the whites, the Greek, like you had just people from Bensonhurst, and like you said, like I played football, I played basketball till I broke my hand and stuff, but I still, but like you said, that was my biggest takeaway was learning how, like, so now when I got into corporate world, I know how to deal with, like you said, when you deal with people from other areas that don't know, and it's like, oh yeah, you know what, they didn't, they grew up a little different, or their household structure was a little different. They wasn't like us. I know how to, as they say, turn it on and turn it off. Like I know how to, be rah rah, and then the next thing I know how to be, I call it business casual. So
Yeah.
and like you said, just jumping back to the mental health. people used to, oh, you're a nerd, you're a nerd. And I was like, okay, and so what? Like, don't get mad because you didn't pass the testing in Brooklyn Tech. Like,
Yeah.
but now with the young kids, coach, like my girls don't be wanting to wear glasses. Oh, I look like a nerd. I said, I heard this in a movie somewhere. And I tell them all the time, the people that call you nerd now, in 10 years, they'll be calling you boss.
Yep.
I heard that in the movies, but I share that line all the time. Like, it's okay to display intelligence. Like,
Yeah.
I had 6 seniors graduate from my basketball team last year, including my manager. All of them graduated with honors. All of them.
That's fantastic.
And and I'm like, it's okay to be nerd. Like, it's okay. Like, nerd is the new normal. Like, that nerds are winning. Winning.
Like, here's the truth. They always were winning. We only demonized them, and at certain points in life felt like they were losing. But at the end of the day, you may be down in the first half of the game, but the game ain't over.
That's right.
And a lot of times people think like, oh, it's over because in the moment it feels horrible. Like, tell you I live by that Charles Barkley quote because like my mother got us on intelligence. She's like, we may not be the richest, we don't have the money, but you're gonna be smart. And we're not just smart and like book smart, you're going to be intelligent and to be able to speak clearly, because she's a speech pathologist for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And she still works in Brooklyn. Like to this day. She still works and drives to Brooklyn every single day. And I'm like, Mom, why you still go? She was like, I'm not messing up my groove now. She was like, I know. She works like, we used to live in like an apartment building adjacent. And it's not quite the projects. It looked like the projects, but it wasn't quite the projects. And off of Flatbush and Avenue K, right off of well, it's not directly, right off of Kings Highway. And
no, that's not Vanderveer. And I was thinking Vanderveer, but that's not Vanderveer.
No, Vanderveer is on the other side.
Yeah.
So, but like right off of Kings Highway and like Flatlands, and like
yeah.
So in that, so like when I tell you, she like, look, you're not gonna be stupid. You're not gonna be playing no games.
Those buildings. Yeah.
211. Okay. When it break down, you walk up the stairs. I was on a 5th floor. Like, so you break down, you bring in groceries, you dragging the whole cart up step by step.
Hopefully it ain't laundry day, because you got to bring all your laundry up in there. I feel you.
Yeah, I don't know if your parents did this, but my dad liked to come from church at like 10 o'clock at night and then do laundry because ain't nobody was in there. And then
and when I was older, I figured that out. Like when I was older and started doing my own laundry, it was Linden Boulevard in Pennsylvania had this 24-hour laundry man. And I would go 2, 3 in the morning, get my laundry done. I actually rented one of my boys one time, and he said, "What are you doing there?" I'm like, "Because it's empty. Like I can get in, get the machines, take a nap in my car, whatever, get my laundry done, and get in and get out."
Yeah, see that, and I used to hate it. Cause I was like, man, and then I gotta get up and go to practice, and man, like, but it's all the stuff that we look at, and it wasn't as intense as we thought it was, or some of it was intense, and somehow we made it through. And it's a beautiful time, and I realized how unique an experience it was. Because
unless you lived in Brooklyn, it's hard to relate. And you can live anywhere in Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn is big, and we each all have our own, like you said, upbringings, but we can somehow relate to what the other person went through.
Yeah, and you understood. We've been talking for what, like 40 minutes, and we already know the same streets we ran down, the same spot, the same hoops, like we probably shot on. Like so many people, like I could say the high, and you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's right.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly where I am in the borough.
That's right.
It's like it's a different language we speak, and it's a different, like, we speak the language of an authentic struggle. That's what Brooklyn, people from Brooklyn really speak about, and getting past that and evolving. That's the way God allowed me to. Is nothing but a blessing. But I honor where I grew up and how I grew up every single day, because it made me who I am.
Yeah. So let me ask you real quick. I'm gonna go through just a couple of more questions because you actually, and this is what I love about doing this podcast. Sometimes I ain't even got to get to all my questions, and the guests just and you just been hitting on. So that's why I'm turning my head. I'm like, okay, he hit that one. He hit that one. He hit that one. I'm like, damn, like that's good. That's just because, like I said, it's just like we're sitting in the barbershop talking, like
Yeah.
it's regular barbershop talk. So but going back to your schooling real quick, were there any like teachers or moments that really kind of impacted you and kind of shaped who you are today?
So in junior high school, I told you I went to school in Cypress Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one professor who was actually like a bodybuilder. And he was like the biggest dude I ever saw. He was like 6'3". And I was like, yo, how you got all that muscle? Like, it looked fake. And I'm like, Brooklyn kids, they start running their mouths. They start saying whatever. And he was like,
Right.
no, he was about it. Like, and his name was Mr. Mahasib. Mr. Mahasib was an Egyptian dude that was built out of his mind. Like, and it was just, he poured into us. He was a math teacher at first, and then he became a homeroom teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were in his class, man, you were so like, you felt like, man, he held you accountable, but he was
Right.
just so chill. Like the first teacher to be like real chill and to pour into you. Nah, you could do better than that. Nah, don't come in here like you're going to be acting like that. Stop playing. You know, you can be better than that. You can go further. You can do more. And he would push me. He pushed us like, and it was one of the things it was life changing because besides my parents, it was another male figure that believed.
Right.
And the reason why it was so impactful, because he didn't have a dog in the fight. He wasn't my
Exactly.
family. He didn't have to do it, but he chose to do it. And he showed me a different way to think. And this was a version of John that was rough. I was like God made me this way for a reason because it's changing and paying off now. But you're talking about the version of me that was like, yeah, if 5 people was trying to jump me, I put my back to the wall and start laughing and smiling. I'm like, yeah, let's roll. And I'm like, I'm talking to you. I'm talking
Right.
trash. I just hope you know. I said, I'm about to slap you upside the head with this. Remember the metal chairs with the
yeah.
blue metal chairs with
With the blue metal.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and when you went into like the younger kids class, they were smaller, so they were easier to pick up. So when you would get in trouble, you know where to
That's
go
right.
and to grab something. Like, man, but even then he spoke into me, and then even going into high school, I went to Murrow, and there's some teachers that were like, hey, I know you love basketball and you're trying to figure out how you're going to go there, but you know how to talk and you know how to communicate very well. You need to look into speaking about basketball. And there was this one teacher in my first ever broadcast journalism class, and I dressed up in a suit and I was doing a broadcast, and she just kept staring at me. And I can't remember her exact name. I think she had got married and her name changed. But she never forget the meeting and never forget the encounter. I was producing my first ever like broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed up in a suit. Everybody was wearing their regular clothes. I showed up in a suit. I had a mic. I had a basketball and thing, and I was going to talk about sport. Because remember, Stu Scott was the man.
That's right. That's right. So
Stu
that's
Scott
right.
was the man back then. We were saying booyah. Like we were saying all of that. We were saying all of that. So
That's right.
it was one of those things where I was really, like I said, I'm gonna give this all I got. And that's when Stu Scott had like the big bulky suit. Him and Rich Eisen
They
was
meant Rich
sitting down.
Eisen. Yeah. Yep.
Man, so I went in there trying to be just like Stu Scott. And I did every play by play, and she just stared. And the classroom was silent, and I was like, "But did I do bad?" And she looked at me, and she got up, and it was like she didn't care who else was in the room. She said, "One day you are going to do amazing things. This is what you're supposed to do." She was like, "I don't care what ball you dribble, what ball you throw. That's not your life. This is your life. You are supposed to do this." And I was like, I only knew one way. I said, I'm gonna go to high school. I'm gonna play ball. I'm gonna go to a good scholarship. I'm gonna get drafted. I'm gonna make money, send that money back home to the hood, get my mother and my parents and my family out, and make sure I cherish so they can see me all over watch me on TV, get drafted, all that stuff. I said, then I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna go on ESPN. That's what I would tell people. And she said to me, she was like, "This is what you're supposed to do." She said, regardless of where you go and what you do, you make sure you always sit in front of that mic and speak. And it was an old lady, and she was getting ready to retire. I can't remember her name, but I remember her face, and I remember that moment of having this sense of God channeling and tapping into my purpose.
Exactly. Use her
That's,
as a vessel.
yeah,
Yep.
and like he used her as a vessel and just bow, something just opened in me. And I was trying to talk about sports every chance I get. And even though I was really good at ball, everybody would say, you talk about ball way better than you play it. And I was like, you know, if you're a hooper and you're from Brooklyn, the first words that somebody say something like that and it sound like that, you'd be like, but you can't even guard me though.
That's right. You can't. I was just gonna say, yo, you just took the words right out of my mouth. I'd be like, yo, but you can't guard me though, bro.
But
Like
you can't
you
guard me.
can't guard me.
Like, don't even play like that. I will put 40 on your head. Don't play with me. And so it was, but I knew later in life what they actually meant. Like, and it evolved into so many different things now. I'm like, not so much speaking about basketball, but speaking to those that play basketball, talking to guys about mental health, talking to them about how to communicate, teaching people how to communicate so that they get through mental hurdles that they can go their whole life without addressing. They can live in Brooklyn, live in pain, live in losing their cousin at 12 to gun violence or drugs, and their brother, their sister, their mom. There's so many kids now, like, that I pay attention to because I realize that so many of my boys that I used to run with, they were raising themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they admired me for having parents, both parents in the house. Granted, he was like, I call my stepdad my real dad. Like, he's the one that raised me. He's my father. And so like when I tell you, they're like, oh wow, you got a mom and a dad. I just got my mom. And most of the time, one of my boys, he was taking care of his mother because she had substance abuse problems.
Yeah.
He had, and so he was older than he should have been. He was riding the trains and getting food and going to work at Rite Aid back when they had it, or Dwayne Reed or something like that.
Yeah.
Or packing bags at,
At the supermarkets.
at
Yeah.
Key Food or Western Beef under the train station or something like
That's some
that.
beef. Yeah.
So it was, you realize, like, man, like, there's a lot for them to unpack, and they never got the chance to do it. No one told them that it's not normal or it's okay to not feel like you got to have everything. They just dealt with it and stayed silent, and they learned to just bear the pain and the loneliness and the disappointment for years, for decades.
Yeah.
And they get
I never
hard
really got
inside
over
that.
it. Yep. Yep.
And so now I have to go and I think God allowed life to go this way for me so I can be like, you can't tell me I don't know, because I was next to you. Or most of the cases, coach, you'll see most of the cases when I go into these corporate companies, a lot of which
Mm-hmm.
a lot of companies and have shopped there, have been there, have ordered something, and they can't tell me anything because they have not been through what I've been through. They don't know what it is to get jumped or to get robbed, or like they don't know what it is to get beat by 9 kids and still get up fighting, and they think something's wrong with you. But in your brain, if I don't fight, they're gonna think that I let them beat me and I was scared.
That's right. Or they're gonna keep coming back. Yeah.
Keep coming back. No, we're gonna go at it. My pops and my mom, they probably not proud of. They probably don't want me to say this now, but we're not gonna act like when they found out I got jumped, they ain't hop in the car, and they knew they couldn't hit the kids, but they took me to go hit the kids back.
That's right. No, listen, there was a video that I saw of a dad that took his sons to fight this kid. Hey, you're not gonna jump him, but he gonna fight y'all you're gonna fight one-on-one. Like, and he made his son fight like 3 of them. His son beat up all 3 of them individually, but they tried to jump him. He said, nah, like, I ain't gonna touch you. And he said, yo, go get your dad, your uncle, whoever you need to get, but you're gonna get my son this fair one right now.
Yep, exactly. Because they don't do that anymore. They try to use and they don't know how to use their hands. They definitely don't know how to talk.
They use use their brain before their hands.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's certain things, like I had this conversation with with one of my brothers, and I was like, I have a 7-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and another kid. My wife is pregnant with our third.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I'm hoping for a boy. So root with me. My mother wants another little girl. And I was like, I want my little girl to be my only little girl.
That's right.
So my 7-year-old son now is like, there's certain things that growing up in Brooklyn taught you that he'll never get.
Exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes, like, I was 7 years old, but I knew what danger looked like. I was
You're
7
on
years
point.
old outside, and I knew he looked weird. Nah, we gonna get out of here. I'm gonna tell my daddy. I'm gonna call my brother. I'm gonna call my cousin. And who's your cousin? Day Day. And they were like, "Oh, okay, you lucky," and they back up.
Hey, gotta have that crazy cousin in the back pocket. That's right.
That cousin that did stuff that he didn't tell mom about, or he didn't tell auntie about, but they already knew he was doing something. And you were like, and so many people walking up to the house asking for him that looked sketchy and different, but you already knew. Look, it was the life. It was the street life. It was life. But they will never get that. And I had this conversation with other men because I have a group for guys called the Ambition Network. And what we do is we bring all the men together from all walks of life, and we, one, hold each other accountable, two, talk about goal setting, but three, unpack stuff that we are going through and have gone through.
Yeah.
So that we can be better men for our households and our family, and better business owners, better father, brothers, husbands, you name it.
I definitely want in on that, man. I want in on
absolutely. I'll send you the link and all of that, because we started a Facebook group, and we're about to have, virtual meetings and all of that. But the gist of it is, each week we would come together, and I started with like 5 of my other guys that are different walks of life, didn't grow up like how I grew up, but grew up a version like it. You find that every single week it's like, man, this is a group I didn't know I needed as a man. Because we're like, I have a rule. Hey, and they signed agreements. Like, I drew up agreements. It's called a praxis agreement. Anybody that wants to join and lock in, you can join the free Facebook group and we'll do conversations or whatever. But if you want to be a part of the accountability group, you sign a praxis agreement that says, I agree to be honest. I agree to be committed, not to myself, not just to myself, but to my brothers around me. And I agree to be committed to change. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to, to BS you. I'm not going to do any of that. This is a safe space, but it's an honest space.
Yeah.
And as your brother, I'm getting in your grill when I know you're living beneath what you're supposed to. So I'm not going to take certain excuses, but we're going to talk through everything to see whether it's an excuse or whether you have a problem. And every time we have this conversation, or we have certain conversations, there's times where we're literally, and I've been on one of them that said, man, I feel like a failure. And I can't, like, it's hard for me to talk to my wife because she doesn't understand, even though she loves me. That's my queen. I love her to bits. But there's only certain things that she's going to understand.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and
right.
there's certain things that, as a man, like, hey, I know I have things that I have to do. I know I'm doing some of them, but I'm still thinking about the things that I'm not been able to do.
Right.
I'm still thinking about the things that I promised you that I'm still trying to figure out. And I know bills are due, and I know this is done. And so we're honest, and it created this place of freedom, and you can't replicate you can't build this, what we grew up in Brooklyn, and hand that to our children so they get the same lessons, because the truth is they may never get the same lessons.
No, and you really, to a certain extent, your kids should not get the same lesson that you got.
Exactly.
Because you want to, and that's something that I saw back in East New York in one of the housing projects, Cypress Hills projects, ironically, where, grandma was in the system as far as government assistance, their mom was in the system as part of government assistance, and now the child, all they know is how to get on Section 8 and live off the system. When, I tell people, like, I'm the oldest of 7, right? And the first 5 of us, we're all a year apart, and I have a younger sister and a stepbrother, but he's my brother. Like you said, like your stepdad, like he's my brother. But my mom, was on, public assistance. My mom and dad weren't together. My dad worked for transit, but my mom and my dad made sure that they instilled in us not to want more than what they had. Like my first real job and I didn't even finish college, but my first like real job, I was making more money than my dad, and he was in transit for years. He's like, "You make that much?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like I can see in his face. He was like, "Holy shit!" Like I was like, "Yeah." Like, but that's what you want. Like, and my daughter is a nurse, and she graduates college, and she's making more than I'm like, damn. But that's the cycle, and and I'm proud. And I told her, "No, like you went to college, like you earned this, but that's what you want for your kids. You don't want them to learn. You don't want them to walk the same." That you want them to walk in your footsteps, but not along the same paths.
Amen. And to that same point, Coach, I built the Ambition Network to start having and teaching guys how to have the conversation, but also having a network of guys that understood how difficult it is to be a man in America, to be a man in
And
this
be a
world.
black man even at times too.
Exactly. And now I do that, and we bounce stuff off of each other all the time, and I'm teaching my son. Somebody gave me it gave my wife and I one of the greatest compliments, and they said, "Your son is incredibly smart, but the way he speaks is mind blowing." Sometimes I have to, like every teacher, they're like, "Oh, we know Jackson. We know we know little man. He's a man trapped in that little body."
That's what's up. He's a leader.
Yeah, and so like I told my wife, like, and maybe I don't know the guys that have done this, but I told my wife, I said at some point, I'm taking him. Like I'm taking him and I'm gonna start to sharpen him.
Yeah.
Because the world looks different, and the faster he learns it and he adapts to what he adapts his expectations, then I can guide him and he can know what to do. And so one lesson was like, I was like, look, you can't, if you're going to talk, you're going to have to get ready to cash them checks when you meet certain people. He likes to talk. But the difference, my mother said this all the time. My wife would say, she's like, "Yeah, he got that from you." Like, it don't matter if you 7 feet or if you 7,
He's
I
not
am
going back
in
down.
your
Yeah.
grill. Let's go.
Yeah.
So he has that same like mentality and grit. But growing up in Brooklyn taught you how to fight and told you how to be ready for it. He doesn't have that.
Right.
So there's some kids and then he's getting it now where I'm like, "Hey, don't let nobody hit you. Don't let nobody."
That's right.
Because regardless of what world we live in, we can't let bullying. I don't care how old you are. At some point, we saw a version of bullying.
Yeah, Will. That's right.
At some point, the suicide rate is not as high as it is then as it is now. But there was always some form of bullying, and we were either bullied by our parents to a degree, so you better not come in this house and not defend yourself, or make sure you ain't. Were you there? Where was your brother?
That's right. That's the first question. That's right.
Where
were you at?
Where were you when this happened? And guess what? You're getting in trouble now because it was your responsibility. And so now it's this thing where now I give him that same responsibility when it comes to his sister, and he's learning it. Just yesterday, my aunt, she loves those kids. So she took them for the weekend, and she came back just yesterday, Coach. And she goes, "I want to tell you, that is your child." I said, "Why you say that?" They said, like, somebody was messing with his sister, and he was there in a split second, ready to go. And he was like, "Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, don't touch my sister. Don't do this." And she was like, he made sure his sister was taken care of. And I looked at him and I just gave him that. That's my boy.
That's right. That's my boy.
That's my boy. That's what you're supposed to do. And there was this understanding between the two of us of pride.
That's right. And
of this agreement that this is who we are. This is the responsibility we have as males in this family. And not that the queens can't defend us. They do all the time. Sometimes they're a lot more fierce than we come on.
Yeah, my sister Vanessa was rough growing up. Like she was no joke. She was no joke. Growing up around all boys for most of her life. Yeah.
So, but we have this thing that we have to get back to as a society. As man's like, hey, when God created Eve, he pulled her out of his side and not his back. So your queens are not supposed to be behind you. They're supposed to be next to you.
Next to you. Yeah.
And so when you treat them with that love and respect and that level of hierarchy, they then treat you the same way. So it's not that they don't have the ability to defend themselves, but they must know that you are right next to them, and they must know that you are ready to go for them in the same manner that they're ready to go for you. And that's the unbreakable bond that growing up anywhere should teach you. But we learned it a lot in Brooklyn and we saw it in Crooklyn. Shout out to Spike.
That's right. Yeah.
The whole family, they were one unit.
That was us. I was the older brother. I had the glasses. I wore glasses when I was younger, and I was just able to, like you said, to relate to them. Like, damn, like that whole movie was probably relatable to a lot of people. A lot of people.
No, absolutely. But again, it teaches us and it showed us. And like, when I tell you this, I still teach lessons that I learned on the streets of Brooklyn. I still teach them and I still reinforce them, because some of the things obviously I'm not proud of, but I thank God that he had mercy on me and he brought me this far.
Amen.
And how I push people to him. I push people to communication and to talking, and because we don't have enough. Growing up, we did a lot of using these and scrapping, but we didn't do a lot of effective conversation.
Using this.
Yeah. When we were upset, we assumed and we went with it. Or we heard, she said this. Because of who it was, you didn't even question it. Why I heard you said this about me? And they're like, what? And because you're coming at them with that energy, the rules are you better come back with that same energy.
That's right. Yep.
You better match it, because then we're going to be like, she didn't even say nothing, or he didn't even do nothing. And then all of a sudden, that's the narrative. But man, Coach, it's just, I thank God for not just getting this far, but being able to see the lessons in the struggle and not just see the struggle by itself.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm going to connect you with a lot of people, man. There's a couple other people that I've interviewed. I want to definitely, like I said, when we exchange numbers, I want to connect you to them. And like I said, all you brothers from Brooklyn has got to link up. And because like I said, you guys are doing some, like I said, me touching the world is through this podcast and having people come on and tell their stories and then connect the people. And like I said, what you're doing with mental health and, other people again, we all from Brooklyn are using our childhoods in different ways to empower and strengthen others through our stories and through our own struggles. So, I definitely appreciate that. But I want to close with this last question. What's the one piece of Brooklyn you carry with you no matter where you go?
And when you say piece of Brooklyn, are you talking about an area, an experience?
No, I mean anything. Like, and I'll give you an example. So one of my guests, she talked about loyalty, and she said like she carries loyalty with her no matter where she goes. So like, what's that one thing that's in you, like that grit that you carry, like that's like and you've touched on it a little bit. So I was like, man, I hope we don't go too deep in this. I want to ask this question, but
yeah.
But what is that one thing that that lesson or whatever? Like, what is that one thing that you carry you from Brooklyn that's no matter where you go?
I would say that the one thing that I carry is probably that Brooklyn grit. Nothing, I'm not shaken. I'm not scared. I'm not like, I don't care who's in front of me. You don't scare me. I'm not afraid. I don't care what obstacle, what situation. I look at it this way, Coach, if God has brought me through all of that horror, all that stuff, what makes this time any different? What makes this situation any different? If he gave me all of these lessons, this is just another lesson. That's all it is. And so I take that grit and determination with me, because if he allowed me to make it through all of that, and it was a lot, and I also watched people that were next to me not make it. I watched people that we alluded to it earlier, that somehow God showed them that I was going to make it out. And they, in a sense, sacrificed their stuff to push me forward. And I carried them with me, and I love them, and I show them love through every success and action that I take. And I carry it with me when I go back and to talk to the next generation and teach them, hey, this is how you have the conversation. And when they challenge and say, hey, you sound funny. Why you sound this? I was like, tell me, where you live at? Oh, I live here. I'm like, well, I used to live there. Yeah, right. I'm like, yeah. And then I see somebody that they know, that they respect, and they're like, "Oh, what up, OG?" And then they looking like, "Oh, you know him?" He was like, "Man, you don't know who this is." And this that level of that, it wouldn't have been that way if had I not maintained that level of grit and
Right.
commitment to fight through anything, regardless of what was thrown at me. Learning that on the streets of Brooklyn, learning that walking down Livonia
Yeah.
at night, knowing that, hey, pick up your steps, because anybody hanging out right now is not up to knowing that you gotta show, even if you are afraid, show no fear about the circumstance that's in front of you, but understand, use your brain, your intelligence, and all the things that God gave you to get to the next level. So it's that grit and it's that determination that I take with me everywhere I go. And, some of that Brooklyn flair never hurts.
Oh, wait. And speaking of which, I don't know, I wanted to be last week, but I got to ask because you're a Knicks fan.
Okay.
What did you think about the Thibodeau firing?
I was a little bothered by it because his level of success has been more so than any of the recent coaches. I think they didn't let the relationship between him and the players fully develop because they were in different stages. Because remember, people didn't like Phil in the beginning before they really started winning. They had their
Right.
issues with Phil, but they stuck it out, and Phil molded them into champions. His system, his mentality molded them into champions. I
Yeah.
feel like Tibbs he was this close. One more season, one more healthy season, one more piece away, and we could have done it. Part of me do believe that this was our season to do it, but it fell apart, and you didn't get the chance that he really had. What did you think, Coach?
I mean, I think he deserved another year. I think they thinned the bench out a little bit because outside of, I mean, he could have played Achua a little bit more. He had some pieces he could have played. Volchek, like I watched him in the summer league, he wasn't ready. The young man from France, a lot of them weren't ready yet, so he couldn't go 12, 10 like deep like Indiana or even Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City and Indiana, when they were losing, they were playing these guys so that they were ready for this moment. On Rose, although again, Leon Rose has done an amazing, probably the best GM that the Knicks had probably since Dave DeBusschere when he drafted Ewing, you know what I'm saying? But they've never had that continuity. And to me, as soon as they got a little success, here comes damn Dolan. I root for the Nets because they're from Brooklyn. I root for the Nets.
See,
I've never been a Knicks fan.
I can't do it.
But yeah, I know. But it's just a Brooklyn to me. But Dolan, like every time they get a little bit of success, like when Carmelo Anthony came, they didn't have to trade for him. He was coming regardless.
Yeah.
They didn't have to trade for him, and you gave up all these assets to get him, and then you set the team back and never could rebuild around them.
Yeah.
And now they got a little,
And then and then they blame him.
Right. And then now they got a little success, and now Dolan, oh, well, what do you think about the coach? I blame Karl Anthony Towns because he don't want to play no damn defense. And he got Tibbs fired twice. He got Tibbs fired in Minnesota, and he got Tibbs fired in New York. Because I think it couldn't have been nobody else. It couldn't have been nobody else complaining because, you saw OG, all of them were bought in. All of them were bought in. But I thought giving up Randall I could live with. I think they could have kept him another year, and now they could have pieced him with somebody and got Giannis.
Yeah.
But but again, they got Cat to me to pull Miles Turner away from the basket because Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson keeps him near the basket, and he was rim protect. Like he was taking runs. He was taking the best part of the Knicks game away, which was paint touches. He was taking that away. So Cat brings him away from the basket that opens up those driving lanes. But Cat doesn't commit. He's 7 foot tall and not even getting a block a game. Like, come on, bro. You're not grabbing 10 rebounds a game. Come on. Like Mitchell Robinson is outplaying you on the defensive end. And Mitchell Robinson he can score because he did it a little in college and in high school, but that's not his role. But as you do, or I don't want to play the center no more. Why? Like centers again, like because you don't want to be now. You want to win 3-point shooting contests and you 7 feet. Like, dude, you ain't Dirk. Dirk can handle the goddamn ball. You can't even. Oh, Wemby can handle the ball. Like they do stuff you can't do.
But Coach, like I do have. I have an issue with Mitchell Robinson because 2 plays he was responsible for. He was late on the shot that Halliburton hit in game 1. He was late.
Yeah.
He was late. His eyes were if I don't care who was moving, he only has a few seconds. I am on him with that basketball. I would rather live with the commitment to Halliburton than to be worried about if we're switching or not. Because the time wasn't, and so he was late on Halliburton, and Halliburton hits the shot. He was late on the block in game 6. He was late on the block to Obi.
Mm-hmm.
Obi caught a dunk, put it over the top, and I love Mitch.
And where the hell was that Obi? Well, he didn't get the playing time he's getting now.
No, he shouldn't have did it. He was a highlight. He was a highlight when he got the playing time when he was in New York.
Yeah.
But Rick Carlisle just does something different.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I did want to ask you that question. So I asked every Knicks fan that question. So eventually, I think Mike Brown is going to do a good job. I think he was a good hire. I think he needed a team like this that's used to winning, that wants to win. Not what he had in Sacramento. Sacramento just has been a organization that they've had more losing years than winning years.
Yeah, they don't know
and
what
the culture has been losing. So at least with New York, he knows with Brunson, he's got he's got a leader, and shout out to Brunson for taking $100 million less because he's about the team.
He wants
and
to
I
win.
was mad. I was mad that he took less and OG took all the money. I was like, OG, like, bro, like you ain't even proving nothing.
Yeah.
You ain't even proving nothing.
You're
like,
not a superstar. Like,
yeah, but he did it.
Yeah.
But Brunson did it so his man Hart could get paid, and I thought he did it so Dante could get paid.
Yeah.
And they should never got rid of Dante. Like Dante, I like DiVincenzo, man. I like.
How many years? I'll say this last thing before we jump. How many years does Dante have?
What do you mean?
His contract. Does he have like?
He should be coming up in free agency either this year or he's either free agent this year or next year.
Bring him right back. I will bring him back, expand the floor. Obviously, he's not going to get a whole bunch, but I think, and I want to know your final thoughts on this, Coach. Do we get Giannis?
If you get Giannis, Cat has to go. And I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have signed Yabusele because you don't need him. Because Giannis is at an age where he'll give you rim, like he's willing to play down and give you some rim protection.
Yep.
But do you go get him? It's just a matter of what you're going to give up to get him. But Cat has to be in the mix, but you can't give up Hart. You can't. I mean, everybody of value. You would almost have to give up Volchek because they need a point guard badly out there. You would have to almost give him up, banking on the fact that maybe you can get somebody down the line, or you can bring Dante back. But would I go get him? Absolutely. To get rid of Cat, I wouldn't even think. If I was Leon Rose, I'd pull that trigger in my sleep 24 times out of 24 seconds on the shot clock. I'm shooting it 24 times. Like, nah, like I'm pulling that trigger quick.
Nah, okay. I'm just glad, because I was like, I want to kind of keep the team intact and go and
but
get
Cat's not the to me, he's not the core. He's not.
Yeah. Even him and Brunson don't look like they're on the same page.
Nah. If Cat was a willing pick and roll and not a pick and pop, it'd be like Lob City. Because Brunson would roll down and just toss that shit up and he'd go get it.
Let me ask you this. This might be pie in the sky. This might be crazy.
No, you good.
Jokic hasn't signed yet.
Well, Jokic is going to Denver. He's saying that he doesn't leave. If Jokic leaves, I mean, would New York be ideal? Yeah, they can't afford him.
Yes.
If I see Jokic going anywhere after Denver, ironically, and as crazy as it sounds, I think he'd go to the Clippers. I don't even think he would go to the Lakers. I think he would go to the Clippers. The Clippers is getting. Clippers used to be the team that nobody wanted to go to, and now they just signed. And I think that's where he would have to go if he wants to be a star. He would have to go to a big market. If he wants to be part of a culture, he would go to Miami. But I don't think he's leaving Denver. I think he's comfortable there. They fired the coach, which I thought was stupid, but
That was dumb.
him and Jamal Murray get along together. You know, he was like, "Yo, this dude Porter Jr. shooting too damn much. Yo, this dude like he's not a team player. Yo, and now you bring in Cam Johnson that can do everything that Porter can do, but he's not going to take 25 shots. That's 10 more shots between Murray and Jokic that they need, for the team to be successful. So they're not gonna shoot them out of a game. Like Cam Johnson's not gonna shoot them out of a game.
He's gonna shoot you into it.
Yeah. I was so mad when Brooklyn gave him up but basically they turned Kevin Garnett into they got Bridges, which they got a bunch of first round picks. They got Cam Johnson, they turned him into Porter Jr. and another first round pick. And I thought they had 5 first round picks. They should have traded 3 of them. I would have got Mathurin from Indiana, which would have been hard, but you're dangling the number 1 pick for him. I like him. I like Mathurin from Indiana.
Yeah.
And I thought they should have went out and got Kuminga from Golden State and brought them in as pieces. Because Cam Thomas is about to sign with Dallas. I heard he can go. That boy he another one that they ain't a shot he don't like that. He thinks wearing that 24 makes him Kobe. Bro, you ain't Kobe. You 6'2" and a half. You ain't Kobe, man. Like no. But I thought they should have traded. They could have kept 2. I like the kid from BYU, and I like the Wolf guy. All the other 3 picks they really didn't need. They should have traded them or traded out of the first round for future picks going down because you didn't need all 5. Like you don't need 5 rookies on your team. Like that's hard. And they should have got veteran, like good guy like Mathurin on a good contract, Kuminga, even though he wants money, but everybody talks about that kid's work ethic. He's a gym rat. He's this.
Exactly.
They should have, and he's a restricted free agent, but I'd have gave Golden State 2 number 1s for him. I'd have gave Indiana a 1 for Mathurin. I would have got 2 players and that would have helped that team. Budding superstar players that would have helped this team go to the next level.
No. That's 1, that sounds logic. 2, that actually sounds more realistic. But then 3, I think at the end of it, like you got a point because I'm not a Brooklyn fan. I never will be. I just can't.
Nah, yeah. I mean, they were for most of our lifetime. They were New Jersey. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, they started in New York and Long Island, but for most of our lifetime, they were New Jersey. So
But Coach, you have been awesome. I appreciate you. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is fun. Hang out for a bit. We just got some post-production stuff to do, but thank you, John. Like I said, I'm gonna get all your information. I'm gonna make sure I post it in the bio and stuff. And this felt like 2 brothers talking, man. I really, and your smile and your energy. I was like, damn, like you could tell everybody I've had love talk about Brooklyn, but you love talking about Brooklyn. Like your smile, your energy. And like I said, I got some people I got to connect you with. And like I said, man, we're going to make that happen, man, for sure.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but like we always like to end the podcast, you could have spent your time doing anything in the world, but you spend it with us, and we appreciate it. Yo, big up Brooklyn. Yo, we out. Peace.
That's a wrap for today's Growing Up Brooklyn podcast episode. Be sure to like and hit that subscribe button.